Same room, same person, same pose even. But our light has changed, and that has made a very, very big difference in the mood of our photo. Boudoir posing is really important for getting the right shape when we are photographing clients, but lighting can play a huge role in the mood and the vibe of the photo. So if you are a beginner looking for some boudoir lighting tips, I've got the video for you. We're going to be looking at two things: natural light and artificial light, and what that means and what that can create for your clients when you are brand new, just starting out as a boudoir photographer. Let's jump in. If you are brand new to boudoir photography, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to start with natural lighting as your main lighting source. Makes sense. It's easily accessible. It's free. And pretty much any studio or room in your home or hotel room has windows. So it would make sense that you're probably going to start there when you are getting into this type of photography. It's not your only option, but it will likely be your first option. I think just about anyone who's picked up a camera for the first time probably starts off shooting with natural light. Now, natural light is great. That is what I like to shoot with myself most of the time. I really like it because in my studio, I have very directional light. So that's something to consider when you are trying to find a studio space. Where are the windows located and how big are they? You're going to want as much light as possible. You might think, well, I really want to shoot dark and moody, so I only need a little bit of light. No, the more light you have, the better. You have more control then and a lot more creativity as to what you can do with it. So you are going to want big windows if you can get them. And if you are looking for, light and airy, you may want windows on multiple sides of the room. If you're looking for dark and moody, you may want light just coming from one direction. It's something to think about. I also want you to think about where those windows are located. So in my studio, for example, let me show you. Ooh, they're very blown out right now, right? But my windows, let's see, are facing, you can't tell, why am I lifting this? But they're facing east. You can't see out there. I'm not properly exposed for that. So my windows face east, which means in the morning when the sun comes up, I have a ton of light coming in here. What would that mean? Well, I'm going to photograph clients in the morning. I always start at 9 a.m. with them. And then by the time we start shooting, it's around 10. So I know where the sun is going to be. And I know how much light will be coming into my studio. Something to think about. If you have windows, if you're in the northern hemisphere and you have windows on the north side, I think you're going to have cooler light. If you have windows on the south side, you're probably getting light all day and it should be warmer. If you're on the west, obviously you're looking for your best light probably in the evening around sunset time during golden hour. So these are some things to consider when you are looking for a studio space and you want to be a natural light photographer. If you are like me and you have clients who are walking around without a lot of clothes on and we are getting directional light during a very specific time of the day, you are probably going to want to diffuse that light. It creates some safety and some comfort for your clients while also giving you much, much, much softer light. So sunlight is really, really harsh most of the time. We don't always love harsh light in a boudoir setting. I do love playing with it, but I wouldn't necessarily want my entire session to be that way. So I have put up special curtains that are paper, but they diffuse the light. So I know in my studio, whether it's sunny or cloudy or rainy, I'm essentially going to get the same kind of light in my studio. The only difference will probably be the temperature of the light and possibly how much of it there is. Obviously, on a sunny day, I'm going to have more light in here than on a cloudy day. So that's just something I have to keep in mind when I am thinking about my exposure triangle. Otherwise, I would highly recommend, if you're shooting with natural light, getting some curtains or something to diffuse the light so that you have a little more control over what it looks like in your space. If you do have windows that face the west, you're gonna have really, really beautiful light during golden hour. Golden hour is the 1 hour before sunset. And then after sunset, you have something called blue hour. And this is where we no longer have sunlight, but there is still kind of residual light from the sun that is just dipped below the horizon. So light is much, much cooler in color compared to golden hour when it is, you guessed it, gold. Most photographers love shooting in golden hour. If you are an outside photographer, if you're going to be taking clients outdoors, that's going to be probably the best time to photograph your clients. You can also do this right after sunrise. So that would be 1 hour. If you feel like waking up at 6 a.m., or rather, honestly, being at your shoot by 6 a.m., great, good on you. That life is not for me, but I love the photographers who are early birds and can get out there and do that. I myself am a 7 p.m. kind of girly. So when I am taking clients outside, that is normally when I photograph them. But like I said, here in my boudoir studio, because I'm primarily shooting inside, we do everything when the sun comes up and is sort of that direction for me around 10 a.m. That's where I want the sun to be when I'm shooting in here. So that's something to think about as well. When you are trying to figure out the best way to utilize natural light, what time of day do you want to shoot at? Do you want to take advantage of golden hour when everything is just magical and whimsical and beautiful? And everybody looks good. Everybody looks good in golden hour light. Do you want to take advantage of that? Or would you rather shoot in something like a studio where you can hang up your curtains, hang up your blinds, and have a little more consistency that way? These are things you're going to have to decide about your business as you are contemplating how to best use the light that is readily available to you. If you are in a space like mine and you're not loving how maybe contrasty the photos are turning out, you don't love how much shadow is happening on this side, you can buy something called a reflector. Reflectors have multiple, surfaces, sheens to them. Most of them will have a gold side, like a gold foil, a silver foil, a black, and a white. And then you can get a reflector holder, like a stand, or if you have an assistant, they can hold it for you. And in this case, let's use this for an example. All of my light is coming in here. Maybe this is too much. This is creating too much drama. We're not going for a super dark, moody, sexy, powerful vibe. We want something a little bit softer. We want to see this side of their face. And you're going to put the reflector right here, and the light's going to hit it and bounce back towards your client and soften up all of these shadows. If you use white, it will be, like a neutral color, same sort of color as your space. Gold will obviously feel warmer and silver will feel colder. So that's something to play around with as well when you are thinking about how to use natural light to the best of your ability. Grabbing something as inexpensive as a reflector can make a big, big difference in changing the mood of your photo shoot. Again, right now, this is pretty dramatic, right? This is pretty, va-va-voom in my opinion. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of sensuality to me with this kind of darker lighting where we have a lot of contrast happening between the two sides of my face. If I wanted something softer, I would add the reflector, or I would probably move my camera so that light is hitting all sides of my subject's face. That's something to think about when you are trying to create mood in your portraits. Now, a mistake that I see a lot with photographers who are brand new to this is not having subjects close enough to their light source, and then you're going to struggle with maybe getting the highlights and the shadows that you want. So if you want a lot of drama, bring your subject closer to your window, and it will be easier to create some drama, some dark and moody vibes. I also see beginners struggling with how to expose their camera to use natural light to create something that's dark and moody. If you want, more, let's say, drama, mystery, a mysterious element, then you're going to want to expose for highlights. So if you're looking at your histogram, your histogram will probably be mad at you and will say, all of your shadows are clipping, all of your shadows are clipping. That's okay, because we're exposing for highlights. We want to make sure that technically the brightest part of the photo is sort of acting like a mid-tone more so. Does that make sense? So rather than, let's say, this part, the brightest part of my face right now, this I would like in the middle, like of my light sensor. I want this to be the mid-tone. And then that will create a lot of dark shadow right here. And my histogram can just deal with it because I want really, really dark shadows and I don't care if they're clipping. Whereas something that's a little more true to color, properly exposed, or even bright and airy, then your midtones are going to be in the middle of your light sensor, your light bar. And then your, for like your brighter and airier photos, you can crank that up a little bit and maybe crank up your highlights a tiny bit. We don't want to blow them out, but you can overexpose them a little bit. If you blow them out, you're going to have some issues when you're editing because there's technically no more data in those pixels, making it very, very difficult to edit and work with them. If you slightly overexpose, you still have data in those pixels, so you can still edit and actually work with them. Once something's blown out, bye. It's like this, pretty much gone. So if you want a brighter photo, think about just overexposing a little bit, slightly, okay? And use the light to totally fill the space. Try to avoid heavy shadows like we've got going on right now. And hopefully your photos will turn out more so in the direction that you want. But when you're working with natural light, you know, it's something that can change on you. It can shift on you. So you're going to need to practice and keep up with the sun and keep up with the clouds and know your exposure triangle, because when that light changes, you're going to have to change too. That is sort of the one big con with natural light. You got zero control over it. It is what it is. So make sure you know how your shutter and your aperture and your ISO all work together so that when all of a sudden your sunshine goes behind a cloud, you're not worried about it. You know what you need to change so that your lighting looks consistent in your photos. Now, what happens if we want more control over our light? We're not loving the idea that the sun can do whatever it wants, and we want to have full control over the light in our studio and not rely on Mother Nature. Then you're looking at two options. If you're a beginner, you're probably going to grab a strobe or you're going to grab a constant light, something like a video light, for example. That's what I'm using right now. There's probably not a need right now to go out and grab an entire lighting, system with like a hair light and fill lights and things like that. I think when you're a beginner, it's always good to educate yourself and get to that point. But if we are just kind of jumping out of the gate and going into this from a place of, well, not a ton of knowledge yet, then I would say get one strobe or one constant light. A strobe, like a flash, right? You're going to generate a lot of power. You're going to push out a lot of light for a split second and grab your photo when that happens. It'll be tied to your camera, so obviously it's going off at the same time as your shutter. Or you can use a constant light. There's no flash. There's like normally less power because it has to constantly be on. It can't just push out a lot of light really, really quickly. So you might have a little less power, but you will know what your light looks like when you are setting up your shot. I don't personally think there's a right or wrong answer to this. You get to figure out on your own the kind of light that you like to shoot with. And that's why going to conferences are really, really helpful. Going and doing like group shoots where maybe lighting is already set up can be really, really helpful because you can test these things out and see what you like to shoot with. Personally, for me, natural light or constant light are my go-tos. But I do have a flash that I take when I have to do like, on location stuff and weddings and da-da-da-da-da. But in my boudoir studio, you're really only going to see me using natural light or constant light. Now, my constant light that I have on does have a softbox on it, you will likely have a softbox on your flash as well. That's going to do what? Diffuse our light a little bit, just like those curtains that we hung up on our windows. Same idea, same exact idea. Why? Because harsh light is, well, harsh. It's gonna show every single mark, bump, wrinkle, acne, scar. And while we know as human beings there's nothing wrong with having those, we don't necessarily want that to be the first thing our clients see when they're looking at an image of themselves. So getting something like a softbox to put around your constant light or your strobe will create light that sort of diffuses all of that and makes things look a little bit softer, right? Now, when you're working with artificial light, there's sort of there's a lot of ways that you can set up your light. There's a lot. But again, we're talking beginner steps, right? Baby steps. So I'm only going to introduce 2 ideas to you in terms of where your lighting is going to be. You can do butterfly lighting or you can do Rembrandt lighting. In my studio, I tend to fall on the Rembrandt side, but again, you get to play around with this and see what you like. Right now, I have something pretty close to butterfly lighting set up. Butterfly lighting is when you are going to have your subject in front of the camera or wherever, and the light is going to be in front of them and then at a 30 or 45-degree angle pointed down. This is what you see in a lot of portraits. How do you know if it's butterfly lighting? Well, there's probably going to be a little bit of a shadow underneath the nose, but it's not going to be so dramatic that that shadow touches the upper lip. That we don't want. You'll also see then shadowing underneath the jawline and cheekbones. That's how you know it's butterfly lighting. If you want Rembrandt lighting, you're looking for shadow on side of the face, shadow on side of the nose, and then you're going to see a triangle of light. There's going to be a little pocket right here of light, whereas everything else will be in shadow. It's named after, obviously, Rembrandt paintings. That is how the light in those paintings tends to fall. The portrait light, like butterfly lighting, is obviously great for glamour type shots, beauty portraits, headshots, things like that. So if that's what you really like doing with your clients, you just love them to always look like they have like beauty light on them, then butterfly lighting is probably going to be your best friend. If you like drama, you like mystery, you like it, you want it to feel really like sexy and maybe powerful, then you might be more drawn to Rembrandt lighting. If you want it to feel more painterly or more artistic, you may also be drawn to Rembrandt lighting because it's obviously going to reflect that type of painting style. Something to think about. Now, there is another type of artificial lighting that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I think it's worth noting, and that's going to be what I call like ambient lighting. So, for example, I just turned on a lamp. That would be ambient lighting. And you should take advantage of this. If you're shooting in a hotel or you're in a studio and you have lamps, use them. Sometimes the light that is already available to you can be really, really fun to shoot with. It creates, again, a very different vibe. So if my lamp is back here, I might have a client sit right underneath it and essentially create their very own spotlight for them. It's super, super dramatic. It's very, very, very sexy. And I like to do it with my clients who want to get a little more creative, or maybe they want to give off more of like a night vibe. Again, I'm shooting in the mornings, but I can make it look like it's 3 a.m. in here. So using a lamp is going to give the feeling of it being nighttime or maybe really, really early in the morning. We want it to feel like it is, like the middle of the night and someone is just hanging out in their room, in their lingerie, feeling themselves, feeling sexy. That's the vibe that sometimes ambient lighting can give off. Get creative with it. If you're in a hotel room, there's probably lamps to play around with. And it can be really, really fun to incorporate those into your photo shoots, even though they're not technically professional lighting. We can get funky. We can get creative. So don't shy away from using light sources that are already available to you in the place that you are shooting. A mistake that I see when people are just starting out is thinking, oh my God, I have to go out and buy every single light. I gotta overlight this. I gotta put a light here. I gotta put it like da, 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 da. I think it's great if you want to get to that point, but when you are just starting out, please do not feel the pressure to purchase every light that you see. I know that the pressure is there, and I know you want to, but you don't need to. Starting with just one flash or one constant light is really all you need if you want to start playing around in this world and get out of just shooting with constant natural light. I think there is space for both with Boudoir. I think knowing about both is going to be important. It never hurts to know more about light. It's always going to benefit you, even if you're not using that kind of product, even if you're not using a flash or whatever. It certainly doesn't hurt to know how to use these things, because there may be a time and a place for it, and you're going to have the knowledge when that time comes. Last thing I want to show you. Hello. You know that pink light you saw in the beginning? That came from a tube light. Now, tube lights are also fantastic ways to use constant light. Oh, so bright. Oh my gosh. Just blinded myself, but it was worth it for the art, right? So constant lights like this are great because you can easily change your color profile. So you can make this look like golden hour. You can make this look like daytime, middle of the day light. We can make it pink, purple, pretty much any color under the sun. This particular one has different settings as well, that if I were going to use it in a video, I can like make it look like fire or police sirens or whatever. I really don't use it for that. I use it for neon shoots, which create a totally different feeling than what we've done so far. So far, we've talked about making it look like it's mostly daytime. And we've talked about using something like a lamp to make it look like maybe it's the middle of the night. The neon lights give you so much more, I don't know, just creativity. Hopefully the want to play and explore and see what you can make. Really, really fun to shoot with prisms, fractal filters, things like that. If you want to get a little funky, a little wonky, I recommend picking up some tube lights. This particular brand, I'm not going to recommend it because I have barely used them and one of the batteries is already totally kaput. It doesn't hold a charge. So maybe don't get this brand of tube light, but you know, an ice light or some other tube light will be really, really fun to have in your space. And they're really easy to move. They're lightweight. They don't take up a lot of space. So if you're just starting out and you don't have a huge studio, that might be the constant light that you want to start with. I use them a lot with my clients. I am very, very happy that I have them in my studio. And I probably won't ever go without them again. So the color of your light can play a big role in mood as well. And I want you to think about that when you are setting up your photo shoots. I hope you found this to be helpful and at least got you thinking about options that are available to you as a brand new boudoir photographer who is just starting out. You know you've got natural light available. And if you want, get outside of your comfort zone a little bit and start photographing using artificial light as well. Either a strobe, which is going to give you a lot of light every time it flashes, right? Really, really great for movement shots, things like that. Or you get a constant light, like a video light or that tube light that I just showed you, if you would rather be able to see how the light is hitting your subject all of the time. If you are looking for more boudoir education, more boudoir content, you have found the right channel. My name is Alicia, by the way. I've been doing this for 9 years, almost 10 at this point. And I want to share what I know about this genre and why it's so freaking awesome with all of you. And hopefully you'll learn a little something along the way. I put out new videos every Saturday. If you found this to be helpful, please leave a comment. Make sure you like it and subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future. I put a new one out every single Saturday. Until then, remember that your body is a good body, and I will see you all again later. Bye!